Hi everyone, this is Ritik, your host of podcast ELI5. At ELI5, you can understand complex problems with our guest. Today, we have some special guest with us. He is Mr. Stephen. He is Director of Design at Google. Let's welcome Mr. Stephen. Thank you. Thank you for joining, Stephen.
Awesome.
We have started one initiative that is ELI5. We call it Explain Like I'm a 5-year-old. And with that, what basically a community of people who can express or answer questions like they would do to a 5-year-old, say maybe
Mhm.
what's generative AI, right? And someone can come up and answer that to me like they would do it to a 5-year-old. There are some rules and restriction to that, and we're planning to create a community around that. You may also visit the website. It's eli5.club. And I wanted to ask question to you. It's more around the generative AI, right? We it's more of like I'll ask the question before I'll try to explain whether what would the question domain would be. If you feel comfortable with that, right? So the domain
Sure.
intersection of design and generative AI or the upcoming AI technologies, right? And my first question to you is, how can AI integrated into design processes, and what can be the benefit of it? And actually, and what does the future looks like for this? Have you if you have explored?
So I am on Explain It Like I'm 5
Yeah, you just have
on
to. Yeah, and it's like you can explain it like easy way. It's not just like it's not literal, but yeah.
AI for design will be like teaching your dog to throw its own bone so that it will no longer play with you.
Okay. Okay, can you elaborate a bit first? Yeah. Like maybe you can go into explaining it actually, because it's very easy to understand. Yeah, but now we can move to a deeper understanding of it. Yeah, now, that's actually interesting to if you listen it again, it makes sense. Yeah, yeah. So how do you see like in general, this intersection in general, talking in general?
It's going to put designers out of the job they have been trained for.
Do you believe that?
Yeah.
No. Okay. How so? I would be interested to know that.
Most design jobs
Hmm.
are asking humans to apply good patterns of interaction to sort of basic fundamentals. The mere fact that you can come up with libraries of interactions and the fact that design interactions are a social language.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another way you could invent a drop-down menu, but
Yes.
we have arrived at this is how they are done. There's another way you could invent a dialogue, but we've arrived at this is how they're done. Right? You have some statements and then there's a call to action or a cancel.
Yeah.
Like, why do you need a designer to do that when AI can apply a similar pattern understanding and do it at scale?
But
So instead of you throwing the bone for the dog, the dog has been taught how to throw its own bone and will no longer need you.
Yeah, actually, it now adds up. But do you believe that AI would be able to understand the empathy that a designer understand for user? Maybe a UI researcher understand.
No, but most designers' empathy for users doesn't translate to better design. Right. So if you were to say, where does that empathy come from? It doesn't mean you develop a better drop-down menu.
Yeah.
Right. It at best case shows up when you're advocating for a type of feature you should build or a shortcut you shouldn't take. Right. Or an abuse of, the data you're collecting or something like that. AI also won't have empathy, but it can appear like it does. Right? The training data will have something that appears like empathy. Like, we shouldn't do this because this could, cause somebody to lose their job or crash their car or whatever you're designing. AI will find something like that in training data.
Yeah.
It will appear to have empathy, but it won't.
Yeah.
It's just predicting what the next word is.
Makes sense, actually. If you look at the higher level, it adds up. And because if you start with a problem statement, it's eventually the early data that you have, and that's where you see the empathy from, and that can be trained as an AI model, right? And
it won't be real, but the AI is not going to be in a meeting arguing for why you should cut this feature because it's doing a thing, right? Like, that's where it will fall down.
do you believe that would save time?
What are we saving time for?
In collecting that data, if you see, right, and we understand that AI is trained, and it's every time it's training every time eventually, right? You see ChatGPT promising us a 10 billion data set to be trained soon. It means it has that knowledge. It might not need that time for understanding. It can just create it for you, right? So
right, but it's not going to. It's applying patterns. Applying patterns means you are always going to be working from something that existed before.
Yeah. Yes.
But for a lot of design jobs, I would argue that's kind of what you're paying a human to do.
Yes.
The problem I have with it is you're putting people out of a job. I'm not saying it's the best job in the world, but you're putting people out of a job. What job will they do? Like, I'm fine if we say everybody has universal basic income. You don't need a job. Great. Fine. Then put people out of jobs. But if you're going to be putting people out of jobs, you should be creating jobs too.
Yes. Yeah. Makes sense, actually.
There's a very dystopian version of the world where you will hire designers to create new patterns, not for any real product, but so that they can be fed into the AI training program.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be a cottage industry of designers who are designing things that no humans really use. It will be like costume designers who dress people for movies.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? They're real people who are able to create real clothing that nobody really wears.
Use it. Yeah.
And is used largely to create a simulation of a real thing. That's my other AI. Explain it like I'm 5.
Yeah, it's awesome. It was great, actually, and we'd use that. Maybe I can take up one more question for you quickly, and it's something related I closely recently worked upon. We always talk about accessibility, right? And we talk about accessibility on web. Let's talk about it. Like, so. Do you believe the AI version of design would have that accessibility enhancement where it consider all the personas with disabilities, with special abilities of users, and can create a cumulative solution? Because usually what happens, we miss that. I'll take an example. I work with an online digital pharmacy whose patients, few of the patients are colorblind. We never thought around designing our interfaces for a blind person. Some tags that are color, some of them, because it required some extra training for our designers, for product managers, and even required some extra testing. But maybe it could be easy for AI at the moment, right? So
I have a nuanced answer here. Yes, on the basics. I think that accessibility, what I've seen, even at scale, at like a company like Google, accessibility is not a design problem. It's a cost problem.
Yeah.
To make something accessible means it costs more to engineer.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, yes, if designers are not designing it, then you won't arrive at needing to
yeah.
make the trade-off on engineering costs.
Hmm.
But the real challenge to accessibility is that to design something that works for everyone is expensive.
Yeah.
It's not a problem of knowing what the right solution is. Somebody could articulate it, and then somebody would say, well, that's expensive. So we're going to do some of that.
Yeah. It adds sense, because you see companies will look at the impact that this thing will create, and it usually connects with business than the
right. So you say, cool, how many colorblind people are in the world?
Yeah.
Right. And you say, well, it's 7%.
Yeah. Say, okay, let's not prioritize that. Let's prioritize.
Right. And then how many of those people are going to be seeking our product? Well, not even that many. Okay. It's primarily for women, and colorblindness happens more to men. So screw it. We're not going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Or, we're building a physical product. Well, we're building a car. And we say, well, should we make it accessible for people who have wheelchairs? Well, it's very expensive to add in the wheelchair lift for every car. So we say no. We know how to build a car that is more accessible for people who have wheelchairs.
But considering that the modeling is getting trained tremendously well, will that this thing would save cost in such areas and may improve? Can we say that may improve? We can see some improvement in that area where accessibility would be enhanced if we introduce certain level of AI, because AI is doing jobs, right? We see that.
If the AI is designing only, then yes, you will see more designs for more accessible solutions. Again, the problem with accessibility isn't really a design problem. It's a price problem.
Yeah.
It's not a dominant enough paradigm. It's not a big enough market for most companies to spend the extra effort to build for it.
Yeah. Got it.
So if you can get to the point where AI can engineer the thing, and you can drop the cost down to basically nothing to make it more accessible, then everything will become more accessible. But it's an engineering problem, and the car is a great example of it's an engineering. You add more stuff to the car,
yes.
Right? You bigger. You add a lift in, right? There's a bunch of things that you can do, but it costs more materials, it costs more time, it costs more machining. If you can remove all those, then why not make every car?
Yeah, like that.
Wheelchair accessible?
Yeah.
Right. We've. You can look at chairs. Right. I mean, I didn't come up with a case study, but chairs in fighter pilot planes were not working all that well because they were designed for an average, and that never works for anyone. At some point, it turned into a thing where they said, like, the jets are not working well enough. We have to make the chairs more like move.
Yeah.
But to make the chairs move costs money. But they realized the jets weren't working for anyone, so you have to remake the jet.
Yep. That's actually a perfect answer, I'll say. And I'll end it up here actually. And it was actually, these two questions were very close to me, because I have been we have been working with these technologies been lately, and we have seen some great ideas coming up around these technologies. Even Google is now into the hustle and with that. And yeah.